I just want to start by acknowledging that I was in the extraordinary panel that Suzanne was on today, and it moved me to tears to hear your story about the discrimination, the fear, the hatred that you encountered on a small journey from San Francisco to come to Salt Lake City. So I want to say how it inspired me to do more to counter Islamophobia. Thank you for sharing. As a Jew, my people too have faced tremendous discrimination with a horrendous Holocaust and anti-Semitism that continues to this day. And that's all the more reason for me as a Jew, those of us here who are Jews, to be sensitized to the discrimination that others face and to embrace the movements like the Black Lives Matter movement right now, started by 3 queer women, that has taken this nation by storm and put the light on a system that has taken the Black community, and particularly the young community, to say we refuse to be stopped and frisked and beaten and dragged and choked and riddled with bullets by the very people who are supposed to protect us, that we refuse to be thrown into a prison system that is a for-profit system that has made us fodder in their industrial prison complex. It's all the more reason for us to be in solidarity with the immigrant community, particularly the undocumented immigrants who are putting their lives on the line to stop this inhumane system that is ripping families apart and throwing them into detention centers, to say no to for-profit detention centers. And speaking of prison systems, let's look at Guantanamo, still open after 14 years, where prisoners who have been cleared for release years ago are still languishing in that prison. Let's demand the closure of Guantanamo and to give Guantanamo back to the Cuban people. Just like we should give back the over 800 bases we have in other people's country and use our military to defend us here at home. Our heart should go out to the millions of Syrian and Iraqi refugees and say that instead of spending trillions of dollars on weapons, on US troops, on drones, on weapons of destruction, we should put that money into trying to deal with the humanitarian crisis that our invasion of Iraq has unleashed. We should demand that our government stop selling weapons to repressive regimes like Saudi Arabia, like Egypt, like Bahrain. And we should take a moment to think about what's happening right now in Israel and Palestine. Our hearts go out to the Israelis who have been stabbed, who live in fear, but let us recognize the underlying reasons that there is so much violence in that part of the world, and that is the occupation, the daily humiliations that the Palestinians have to live with, the settlements, the destruction of their homes, of their olive orchards, the invasion of Gaza time and time again. Let us demand justice for the Palestinian people. Let us demand justice for the LGBTQ community, including the trans community, from Iran to Uganda to Jamaica to Middle America, where people are murdered for who they are and who they love. I want to end with a lesson that I learned on my first trip to Iraq under the brutal regime of Saddam Hussein. When I got to the border and handed in my passport to the border guard, and he looked at it and he said, "Benjamin, isn't that Jewish?" And he disappeared. I waited and waited and waited, thinking I would be thrown in some horrendous dungeon. And instead he came back huffing and puffing and said, "I brought my notebook, I'm studying Hebrew, could you correct my grammar?" He said when his nation went to war with Iran, he studied Farsi, and now that they were fighting with Israel, he wanted to learn history. He said, "We should learn to communicate with those we are told are our enemies, because there should be no people who are our enemies." This is a lesson he could teach Hillary Clinton, who at the last debates, when she was asked, "Who are you proud of to have as an enemy?" she said, "The Iranians." Proud to have the Iranians as an enemy. The correct answer is we don't want anybody to be our enemy. Our job is a simple one. Our job is to humanize the other. Our job is to counter hate. Our job is to spread what Martin Luther King called unconditional love, power to the peaceful. Thank you.